Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm about to take off on an overnight hike, but before I go, I just wanted to show you how I prepare and how I get organised and get everything together before I take off for an overnight hike. So stay tuned. Most of my overnight hike gear lives in here. My pack, food bag, clothes, kitchen, everything like that. I've got some other stuff laid out over there, not very organised, but the first thing I do is raid my day packs for all the little knickknacks that I might need. So the last pack I used was this one. I know there's nothing in that one, so I'll go through the hip belt pockets. Toilet paper, tissues, knife. I want to take all them with me. Sunscreen, snacks, lollies and chapstick, very important. I keep my headlamp up here, so I'll definitely want that. Buff, spork, first aid, which I'll need to replenish with a couple of things before I go. Raincoat, very important. Water bladder. I swap my water bladders out between this day pack and my big pack, whereas if I'm using this one, it's got its own camelback water bladder in it. But yeah, so I'll need this one, and I will need the hose as well. I'll take the hose for it. This is my big pack, and the only thing that should be in here would be its rain cover. Obviously that stays with this pack, but other than that thing, there is absolutely nothing in here, and I'm packing it from scratch. I have my sleeping bag compression sack, and inside my sleeping bag is like a thermal lining that I sleep in when it's really cold. But I just leave that in my sleeping bag and pack it in there, so that all squashes into this. In here I have my snack bag and food bag. So it's just an overnight hike, so I could probably get away with taking this size bag, and I'm going to fit all my food in the one bag for this hike. So I'll usually suss out what I've got in there left over. It's usually some backcountry cuisine meals. I've got another Cliff gel shot in there and some cappuccino sachets for in the morning, so I'll definitely want that. I've also got a spare lighter in here as well, because I know the one that's in my kitchen is getting a bit low, so I'll carry that spare in my food bag. Let's see if there's anything in this food bag that I want. A dessert. I'm not going to worry about a dessert. The hike that I'm going to do is a bit of like a warm-up to the season hike. It's pretty short, it's only 18 k's, and I'm going to split it up over 2 days, so I don't think I'm really going to need or feel like a dessert after dinner. I might chuck in these noodles though, in case I feel like cooking up something warm throughout the day, or maybe as like an extra dinner. I was taught to always carry an extra meal on you, just in case something happens and you're stuck out there longer than what you plan on being. Like I said, I am doing a pretty easy hike and I know it quite well, so I'm not overly concerned about that, but still, they might come in handy, you never know. This is my clothes bag. In here is just some super thick warm socks that I like to have on me all the time. They're just for sleeping in. In here I will want to put in some extra knickers, thermals to sleep in, and my puffy jacket. So that will go in bed. I usually take this and fill this up and treat this as my cooking water. So I will want that and I want to use that, fill that up. My extra ground sheet that I like to have. And my kitchen. Now with my kitchen, I usually get all this out, put the stove on the gas canister and start it up, just to make sure it all works fine. This is a new gas can too, my last one was getting a bit low, so I've swapped them out. Good stuff. That's most of the little things that I have here. Right now I'm just going to shove my sleeping bag in its compression sack and put that in the bottom of my pack, and then remind myself how I pack the rest of the gear in my pack. And that's probably the best I can get that. Alrighty, now that that's in there, the next thing I put in is my full water bladder. It's just easier to put that in an empty pack rather than try and squash it down in a pack that's already full of stuff. Alright, I'm back with a full water bladder, so I'll chuck that in. I'm not going to record all the packing of my pack because I have already done a packing video on what I take and how I pack my pack, so I will link to that below. This is just pretty much how I get everything sorted and get ready to take off on an overnight hike. One thing I'll always do though when I'm packing, and again just before I set off on the trail, is test the water bladder and make sure I can get water coming out of it. Pretty important. My next two big things here are my sleeping mat, and I have my pillow rolled up in here as well, and my tent. You should probably try and set up your tent before you head off, just to make sure everything's there and it's all good. I know personally I look after my gear, and I remember the condition that I leave it in, so I'm fairly confident that this will all be good to go, and I have a bit of OCD, so I know how I pack it up, and it's usually the same every time, so that should be good to throw in. But if you are ever unsure, not a bad idea to just quickly set it up, or at least lay all your gear out and have a look at it, especially your tent. Now with food, like I said, I usually just see what I've already got packed in there from the trip before, and if I want any more like snacks or things like that, I will raid my kitchen cupboards. But if there's nothing really here, then I'll detour to the shops before I hit the trail and grab some snacks. For this hike that I'm doing, I won't need to worry about lunch. I'll actually be starting it after lunch, and I will finish before lunch the next day. So it's fairly short, fairly easy hike. However, I do have that extra meal in there should I need it. Otherwise, I usually just make up some sandwiches for lunch if it's just a short hike like this, 1 or 2 nights. Sandwiches will keep fine. I usually make peanut butter sandwiches. They're good for hiking, nice and quick and easy. I just had to grab some more hydrolyte powder to put in my first aid kit. Before I pack my first aid kit away, I'm going to put some sports tape on my heels. that is a part of my blister prevention. I did a video on that, I'll link that as well. And I really do need to buy a new one of them because it's getting extremely hard to get the tape off. Tape up my heels. No rubbing on the heels. Yay! Now my first aid kit can go in the pack. So now I have a heap of all these little things, and I just work out what I want where, and mainly what things I want access to nice and quick, what things I want in my hip belt pockets. And finally, just the things that go on the outside of the pack. So I'll chuck this in my right side pocket of my pack. I'm right-handed, so it's easy for me to sort of grab that before I take my pack off, lay it down to sit down, and then I can take my pack off, dump it on it. So that will always go in the right side pack pocket. In the front mesh pocket, I shove my fleece and my raincoat down in there. That way they're easy to grab. And my Osprey pack has a stow on the go system for your trekking poles, but because I have these tri-fold trekking poles, I usually fold that section up and keep them that length. That way they fit into the stow on the go system on my pack. So that's my pack packed. If I'm going to start the hike the same day that I take off like I am today, I will wear the clothes that I'm going to wear. And all I'll do now is chuck some sunscreen on, put my hat on when I get there, and put my trail runners on when I get there. And once again, test my water bladder, have a quick drink, make sure that's all good, and hit the trail. I guess everyone has their own little system and their own little steps they take when getting ready for an overnight hike. That's pretty much what I do. I don't really think too much into it really. I just make sure the important gear of mine is working and I'm going to be right out there on the trail on my own. So that's the main thing, I guess. I always make sure I have plenty of food, plenty of water. If I'm doing a new trail or I'm unsure of the area, I'll always have a map with me as well. Also, if I know I'm doing a particularly hard hike, a tricky trail, and there isn't any reception and it's quite long, and I'll be a fair way away from any civilization, I'll also pack my PLB as well. I hope this helped, or maybe just gave you a bit of an insight into how I get ready for an overnight hike. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!